Hi, this is Aniruddh and Jennifer, and today I want to share about project nutrition disease linking. So, what does it mean to eat healthy? It's a question we are often asked in almost everyday lives. Some of which take the form like, how do processed foods affect our health? Or are fat-free foods better for dieters? Or even simple things like eggs, are they bad for our hearts? Sometimes we base our decisions based on nutrition labels. Do they lie anytime? Or even high fructose corn syrup products, which are very common on the shelves, do they have any bad effects? Or is the artificial sweetener aspartame bad for us? These are the questions which lead us to the analysis of nutritional domain's current state. So there are a lot of studies published in present times, but it's difficult to draw conclusions from them. And one of the reasons is that they offer confounding results. It often happens that a study published in present times is of either superseded or preceded by one which has a different result. So it's hard to generalize results from them. Another reason for that is the conclusions that are based on in these studies, they are often based on limited sample size. Even the results of some of the studies are distorted and buried to some extent. Which brings us to the second important point. The political nexus between FDA and the industry has been well documented and proven that they have vested interests in the food and drug industry. Uh, as a result of this, the consumers don't get to know the full story and information. Also, in recent times, the consumer sentiment has seen radical shift. They are getting more and more aware of their personal health, and there is waning confidence in the food chains and GMO as well. So in short, the data linking particular foods to health disorders, diseases is sparse and obscure. So this leads us to the research question. How can nutrition data help in disease prevention and diagnosis? So we hope to achieve from this project is to find out new links between health disorders and nutrition. This can help in aiding the medical diagnosis as it can be fed as additional data to the machine learning models in use in medical science today. We also hope to discover specific foods to health disorder links. And we can even discover superfoods which provide natural immunity against certain kind of disease ailments. Also, we could find out a new blueprint for a healthy diet. Now, the primary motivation behind this project is the current state of US health, actually. These are just some of the stats. So 9.4% of US population has diabetes, and 245 billion is the estimated cost of it once it is diagnosed in the individuals. And it's predicted in future that 1 out of 3 will be impacted by heart disease. So we also want to expose the truths about certain food habits, and there are myths surrounding them in the media. And last but not the least, the profits of the companies count second and nation's health first. So in terms of securing the data and deploying the methods, we can think of this split into two major parts. So first is the individual nutrition, which is tracking the metrics like macros consisting of proteins, fats, and carbs, vitamin levels, lipid profiles, HDL, LDL, and etc., and metabolism sensing. And the sensors come in here in the form of wearables, which are common in today's world, heart rate monitors, and a new range of sensors called subcutaneous and epidermal sensors. And the second part can be thought of foods consumed in raw and organic form, which can be done through self-reporting or auto-scanning of receipts from grocery stores, or even credit card transaction linking of these grocery receipts. The smart refrigerator can also help us here with optical tracking and image processing to track what all family members, let's say, are taking what kind of foods from the refrigerator. So here on the right-hand side, bottom right-hand side is a new sensor from IRO, which is able to track all the a lot of metrics from nutrition like macros, lipid profiles, and along with it, it can measure the stress, exercise, and sleep as well. And this is a quick look at one of the epidermal sensors from Motorola, which is in a form of miniaturized tattoo with very tiny sensors for sensing a lot of things. Now over to Jennifer, who will discuss the future risks and challenges.
Thanks. Our product includes robust health metrics based on real-time data and mobile phone alerts when figures are beyond the desired range. Much like today's Fitbit dashboard tracks sleep and steps, users will have access to monitor their blood glucose levels, lipid levels, calorie consumption, and more. Additionally, the project will result in dietary recommendations that are based on science. We also plan on opening up the data for all within the research community. With this new information, individuals and communities will have more accountability for their health. Doctors and insurance providers will start including nutritional habits in their operations and recommendations, ultimately helping to shift medicine from treatment to prevention and create a world with less disease and lower healthcare costs. When it comes to conveying the findings and persuading decision makers, there are some challenges. The agricultural and pharmaceutical industry have a dangerously close connection to the regulatory bodies. As you can see from the Venn diagrams, it's common for individuals to hold high-level positions within industry and then move to regulatory positions. For example, Ms. Margaret Miller worked as a chemical lab supervisor for Monsanto and then moved on to become the deputy director of the FDA. We also see high-level positions within the Environmental Protection Agency, the U.S. Department of Agriculture, the Medicare Regulatory Affairs Committee, and the National Institute of Health. All of this means it will be an uphill battle to see any change. Nonprofits are also strongly influenced by industry. From the image above, you can see which companies and industries are funding each nonprofit. Industry-selected messages are played back through awareness campaigns. As the Pink Ribbon campaign demonstrates the influence of industry in sending messages. It's showing that dairy is good by stamping the breast cancer awareness ribbon on it, although some studies suggest that may not be the case. To further exacerbate the problem, nonprofits also sponsor research and generate advice, which further confuses the consumer because they wrongly assume that the nonprofits are unbiased. In order to overcome what may seem to be insurmountable odds, we need to market directly to the consumer. So while biases are traditionally viewed negatively, we hope to create product pull with their help. In particular, we want to leverage network effects where people get excited because their friends and families are using a product and they all jump on the bandwagon. We also think that there will be some amount of the placebo effect where people believe that they're making healthier choices and that will impact them. Finally, given the technological advances with the new range of sensors, we expect to see a pro-innovation bias working in our favor. Let's take a look now at the risks associated with the product. So we've split them out into both legal and ethical. From the legal side, data privacy and HIPAA compliance is the chief concern. The de-identification of the data and clear documentation free from legalese will definitely help mitigate that risk. Device approval and safety of the electronics is definitely a challenge, but if we learn lessons from prior technologies such as pacemaker, we think that we can overcome this. There will always be some amount of risk associated with the user, namely patients and physicians. And to mitigate against that, we want to have a robust insurance policy. On the ethical side, discrimination is definitely a concern. And so to mitigate that, we want to have this be a completely voluntary program in which you can opt out at any time. Given that we're providing recommendations, the accuracy of those recommendations is extremely important. So we want to have a transparent margin of error associated with each of the metrics, as well as strong calibration testing. Given that it's a data science recommender system, there's the potential for an adverse outcome. So to mitigate that, we want to offer a medical point of contact to help users interpret the data. And now let's take a look at the additional areas of analysis. So we see a clear need for network analysis to prevent the type of incestuous relationships seen today. A re-optimization analysis on government subsidies in agriculture to the tune of $17 billion. A gap analysis on food imports and exports and the environmental impact of food production. Thanks for listening.